Happy Monday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Final day of camp at the Woody Hayes. Some guys came back. Some guys made moves. A lot of offers went out today. It was hot. So if you guys are in Central Ohio or all over the country, man, it was a hot day today. I was out at a work outing and it was scalding hot. So I hope you guys had a great day and stayed cool. It's going to about to be a cool show. We appreciate all that you guys do each and every night. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. I'm going to say something real brief. Thank someone in service, one of our first responders, our police officers. I had an amazing conversation for about 20 minutes with an officer last night. There was an issue, a crime that went on. He shot me a text, and it was unbelievable. Some of the stories he told me and some of the stuff that those guys are dealing with. It's really tough out there right now for our men, our boys in blue and women in blue. So just thank them. I mean, it's seriously, it's a tough time to be a cop, and they really keep us safe, and they work really hard. And, I know that there's all kinds of, not everyone's perfect and there's issues sometimes, but, for the majority of those folks, they're fantastic and they really do a great job. And so just thank them when you guys see those guys. Do me a favor. And I appreciate that. Again, this is going to be a huge show because you guys make it one. We take care of our military. We take care of our armed forces. We stand up for our country. So we appreciate you guys so very much, again, for doing that. The stuff that we believe in here on Buckeye Scoop. As always, this is going to be a monster show. Commitment is coming for a superstar receiver. We're going to break his film down, and we're going to get into all of that. So thank you guys. And again, if you enjoy the show, leave us a like. We're going to get rolling. Nevadabuck camp has concluded. These camps have really gotten dry on talent, but there were some superstars out there. Chris Henry was in town from California. Obviously, was in Cincinnati last year. Was transferred out to California. Bo Jackson came back to get the screws put to him by Carlos Laughlin, which I think I love. Some really good D linemen, not much on the O-line front. But your final thoughts? I mean, camp season, in a blink of an eye, is wrapped up. Again, I think camps they've really gone down in terms of importance and attendance, and you don't see the superstars at these camps as much as you used to. There's a couple guys that pop in, but it's not like, I think there's still the top end guys, but the depth is nowhere near what it used to be. And again, I think because with the seniors being able to take official visits on the weekends, I think that it kind of kills their desire to come camp when they've already got the offer and they just come on a free visit. And again, on an official visit, you are not allowed to work out. You are not allowed to. You could camp, I guess, beforehand, but why make mom and dad spend, $1,000 in airfare and hotels when you could just fly up for free and eat steaks? So I think that the camp thing is it's not going the way of the dodo, but man, it is really dying quickly. But your thoughts as Ohio State wraps up their camps, and we'll get into Phillip Bell, who is a superstar receiver who we're going to break down. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think the camp thing is just it's been a steady decline on the camps, but the camps still, they still play an important role. We've talked about this before, but for some of the younger guys, and what they've also become is kind of for some of the guys that are committed to come back and get some additional coaching from guys like you mentioned Bo Jackson today. Bo Jackson came today. There's no reason to come out today to work out there on that turf. That turf, it must have been 175 degrees. I really thought that there was a very good chance that we lose Joe Dream and Bill Greene to heat prostration, and that our staff would have been down a couple of guys because they both could have died today. So shout out to those guys for not dying. But I think that when you have a guy like that doing it, there's only one reason he's doing it. He's not doing it to earn an offer or to get credibility with the rating services or clout or anything. He's going to get coached. And these guys are coming out. They're coming out to try to pick up some extra little tips, to get a little extra time, to get a little extra direct coaching with their guys. And I think that's kind of the role that we're going to see camps play in the future. And that's an important one. And I think it's going to be a good barometer for your guys. Who are your guys? Obviously the local kids are going to have a better chance to do it. But I mean, like today, you had Chris Henry come out. Now, Chris Henry doesn't live here. Chris Henry's going to Mater Dei. He's still a Cincinnati kid. But, you're talking about a five, the bluest of blue chips, for 2026 coming out here, working out in camp, doing the thing, getting the instruction. And, when you see guys like that do it, you realize that, hey, camps do have a role. It's just a different role. And I think for Ohio State, they're getting a chance to see these guys a little bit more, develop the relationships with them, give them a little bit more of a head start. We've talked about the head start that you get from enrolling early. Well, I think these camps are just going to be an extension of that, where it's like super enrolling early, where you're getting that one-on-one instruction, you're getting acclimated to the system, and you're just like that much more advanced when you come to school and you enroll early. And then by the time spring football rolls around, fall football rolls around, you're really ready to go and you're really on that 3 and out trajectory. And I think that's the role for camps, for Ohio State. And I think it served that purpose this year.
Yeah, I think that the camps, uh, there's like different kind of, I guess, groups that benefit from camps. I think that the guys that are very young, like guys that are going into their freshman year, first exposure to a lot of these coaches, working out, a time where a lot of guys like Tyler Atkinson, Chris Henry Jr., they come in as freshmen, they get offered as freshmen. I think that that's a great place to get on the radar. Again, a lot of these kids, they develop at different stages, and they're not all put together like those two were as freshmen. But, you get used to it. By the middle of that deal, that sophomore, junior year, you kind of know what direction they're going. Most of Ohio State's quarterbacks are offered by the time they're sophomores at the latest, just because if you don't go on a quarterback when he's a sophomore, it's gonna be tough. I mean, there's been different ones like CJ Stroud and guys that are a little bit later bloomers, but you got to generally go on the guy as a sophomore, get him in the class, because that's when everybody goes on quarterbacks. It's something where when everyone jumps in the boat, then everyone jumps in the boat. And I think that we have there's a group of like older guys. I think Jake Cook, the kid from Westerville, some of these seniors that are linemen, particularly, guys that are usually later bloomers, guys that might have moved from tight end to tackles, juniors or sophomores in high school. They have to try to, reach for the stars and go get that Ohio State offer. Jake's committed to Louisville, good school. Obviously, he didn't dream of being a Louisville Cardinal. He dreamed of being an Ohio State Buckeye. So, you'll see these seniors come back to take kind of like one last swing at it to see if, they can wow the offensive coaching staff. And again, I've talked at length where I think that the guys that are in state that are, guys like Jake, I mean, they're not going to get offered at camp no matter how good they do, because I think that, the guys like Justin Fry and Ryan Day and Mark Pantoni, they want to wait on the national guys to see where they decide to go. And they know that they could offer Jake, 2 days before signing day, and he'll probably flip and he'll be in the class regardless. So I think that it's an interesting game. I feel for some of those kids, and maybe they evaluate them. They don't think they're good enough to be Ohio State players. Maybe they are, but camp. It's the senior official visits have really killed camp. Like you don't see the rising seniors with a ton of offers generally coming into camp. You'll see some juniors, like we saw the big D tackle from Louisiana come in. We saw a lot of young quarterbacks, a lot of skill guys. Not a ton of offensive line talent this year, like at all. So I think that's kind of a trend. And honestly, like if you're an offensive lineman, I don't know what you really gain from coming to a non-contact camp where you're not in pads and you do drills and stuff, which is great. But I mean, if I'm like some of these kids, like the kid from Avon or the kid from Akron Hoban, and you've already got an Ohio State offer, like I don't really see how you benefit coming to camp. I mean, I think really you can only hurt your stock or you can only go backwards. So again, I don't know. Like to me, it's the skill guys obviously can always benefit from getting more route running tutorials from Brian Hartline. And the quarterbacks can benefit from Ryan Day coaching them up a little bit. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. The linemen not really as much because you're not doing anything in pads. You might go hit the sled, and I don't know how much coaching Justin Fry can do on hitting a sled. Then you could do some double team work and whatever. But those camps they're grinded. They're not advantageous for offensive linemen at all. And again, I think if you're some of those guys, like there's a party, it's like, well, hey, I've got the offer. Why would I do anything to make them think twice about the offer? Like, because if you're, one of those guys who's, one of these top junior offensive tackles, like you come down to Ohio State and you lay an egg and you stink and you lose every rep and whatever, like, does that cast doubt in your mind? Does it hurt your stock? I don't know. And again, you could say, oh, you're just not a competitor, Kirk, whatever. And I was like, well, I was the most competitive guy in the history of the camp as an offensive lineman. I literally earned my offer as a camper, because I was really good in those drills. But I could see like if I had those offers, like I wouldn't have gone to those camps. Like I mean, I never saw Louis Irizarry at camp, and some of the guys that were some of the guys that were in my class that were offered early, obviously much more highly touted guys in high school, they didn't camp. And again, I don't blame them. I didn't see David Patterson, who was David was a national guy. It was between Ohio State and Miami back when Miami was like the Alabama. They were the number one school in the country. David, those were his final two. So again, I think that once you have the offer, camp really doesn't matter. But I do like Bo Jackson coming back down and Carlos Loughlin putting the screws to him. Because I think that when you're a kid like Bo Jackson, who's, a top 3 running back in the country, he's a 4.43 guy, can fly, he's got all the tools. You always question, is a coach really going to coach you hard? Or he's going to be scared to coach you hard. And like Carlos Loughlin I mean, I think Trey Henderson and Quinshawn and those guys are finding out like he coaches everybody hard and he's vicious in his drills and he wants it done a certain way. And again, I think that that's really good. I think that, sometimes with familiarity, there could be like a comfort. And I don't think that that's always fantastic when it comes to dealing with, you got a senior running back and you got Tony Alford's been there for 4 years. And, I mean, I think that like freshening it up with Carlos Loughlin. And again, Carlos Loughlin has had one of the most meteoric rises I've ever seen in coaching, where he went from assistant weight room volunteer coach at Memphis to running backs coach at Ohio State in like 7 years. I mean, that's insanely fast. He went from Western Kentucky to Oregon to Ohio State. And you only do that if people were like, yeah, that guy is really good. He really knows his stuff. He's very blunt, which I love. He literally says running backs is the worst coach position in football. Because again, like there's this perception that, running backs are born and not made. And again, there is some truth to that. Like, I mean, if you have Derrick Henry, like, you can coach him up a little bit, but he's still going to be Derrick Henry and he's going to be the biggest freak of nature of all time. But I think that, what Carlos does is he was getting after Bo today. And again, I think that that's good. I think that, those young kids, when they can get coached up and get turned to a higher level because the little things matter to Carlos Loughlin, I think that it's going to make Bo Jackson a much better player long term, and I think Ohio State's going to be a huge beneficiary to that. So, again, I thought that it was a good camp session for these guys. Again, those coaches are just counting down the days until this last official visit's over and they get to go on vacation for like 3 weeks before the grind of training camp starts in August. Because like, we're basically there. I mean, it's mid-June right now, and these coaches got like a week or two left of meetings and officials, and then they get 3 weeks off, and then it's training camp. So the season is here, folks. Nevada, any final thoughts before we get into a little bit of Philip Bell?
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you. I know you talked about the linemen, and you're I think you're talking about offensive linemen in terms of the stuff, but the defensive linemen coming out there and maybe getting some instruction from Larry Johnson. There was a big, a big in all sorts of world for 2026 5-star defensive end, that Zion Ely out of Maryland. Now he's a really good looking player, and I'm not sure where Ohio State stands with him. But he's getting that instruction from Larry Johnson. I would imagine for a defensive lineman coming here and talking to the Jedi Master like Larry would be really beneficial, and that type of coaching could really make an impact on a guy like that. Because even though you're not in pads, even though you're not going at it the way that defensive linemen do, I'm sure you can pick a lot up from a guy like that. And Zion was a guy that really stood out, to Joe and to Bill today. Just a super freak. They compared him to Will Anderson, which is pretty gaudy praise when you think about it. And think about it as a 5 technique guy, like a Will Smith type of defensive end. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on how defensive linemen and the type of instruction they might get, how that contrasts to offensive linemen?
Well, I think defensive linemen get huge benefit from it. I think much more so than offensive linemen because, a lot of the defensive line stuff is pass rush, hand play, working new moves, counter moves. With the O-line stuff, I mean, they could get some pass blocking work, but until you put pads on, it's really hard to emulate that. I mean, you could get some stuff on your stance, maybe get your stance corrected a little bit. But like working with Larry Johnson is worth its weight in gold for these young linemen. Again, again, speaking from experience, when I was a young freshman, I was going into my sophomore year in high school, and Penn State was like in vogue. They were the hot program in the country. They had LeVar Arrington and Courtney Brown go 1-2 in the draft. So I went to Penn State's camp. I wanted to check it out. It looked really cool. Like obviously, the Browns. I was a big Browns fan. They just took Courtney Brown. I played defensive end. In ninth grade, 10th grade, I was playing a DN. So I was like, well, I want to go learn from the guy that taught Courtney Brown. And Courtney Brown was my first overall in the draft. So, I went out there and like LG is really good. I mean, like again, there isn't a better technical guy. There isn't a better guy that, like if my kid was Nick Bosa, like there isn't a guy in this universe that I'd rather have coach him than Larry Johnson. And again, I'm a guy like I never worked with Larry, but I went to camp where he coached me and 500 other kids or however many were in the D-line group, and I played against his guys every year. His guys were always very, 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 very strong technically. They played very hard, no matter who they were. And they had guys like Tom Bahali, who was a first-round pick, and Maurice Evans, who was a five-star kid. And I mean, every time we went against Penn State, it was always a cleanup hitter that I got to block all game. But I've seen how these guys develop. And again, like the guys that I trust, like Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa, they swear by him just because, his handwork is great. And everything he does is so nuanced and detailed. And, in the pass rush game, when you're a defensive end or a defensive tackle, like the difference between being, $100 million player and being a guy who's cut out of the NFL is like a couple little fractions every single play where, you just happen to get around the tackle, get around the guard, finish the sack. And all of that is just details and prep. And again, I've seen how those guys work their hands. I know how he coaches those guys. That's why I laugh. Like when people wanted Larry Johnson out, they're naming some of these morons that are like at SMU and these like GAs and interns and whoever. And I'm like, I don't want Larry Johnson out. I mean, we're paying him a lot of money. He does a great job. I mean, people say he can't recruit. I'm like, well, he probably doesn't want to go see 100,000 kids, but he wants to go get those 5 stars because, if I'm Larry Johnson and I have a room full of Chase Youngs and Nick Bosa's and Joey Bosa's and Jack Sawyers and JT2 Maloaus and Ty Leaks and these kids, I'm like, your life is like easy as can be. Because I mean, at that position, out of all the positions, you kind of, if you recruit the monsters, your life is awesome. And if you don't, then your life sucks. If you can't get a pass rush with 4 guys, your life sucks. So I think that D linemen get a huge benefit from coming to these camps. Again, and maybe I'm too hard on the O-line thing. And again, this isn't a Justin Fry thing. This is or an Ohio State offensive line camp thing. This is just O-linemen in general in non-contact, non-padded practices. Because like that's what I always used to joke about. It's like, it's the one position where you can get some work done. Again, you can work your pass sets and do whatever, but it's the position that takes the most time to get the feel back because those guys like Marvin Harrison and JJ Smith, they'll run routes with the Monarch machine in the Woody all day, all night. And that's almost the same as running a route like in practice. Obviously they usually don't have shoulder pads on, but they'll put their helmet on and run the routes. And it's like the same as practice. But until you're like strapped up in pads and you have Jack Sawyer like live bull rushing you in a one-on-one pass rush, like there's nothing in the offseason generally can simulate that because it's so violent and there's such a high injury risk where it's like, if a guy hits you wrong in a one-on-one pass rush in the offseason, I mean, you could tear your knee up, you could get hurt because it's a violent drill. So, again, it's kind of like practicing tackling in the offseason. Like, I don't know how you do it without actually tackling. I know that you can, you break down and tag off the hip and do all the other stuff they do, but until you actually tackle guys to the ground, it's hard to get great at tackling. And the same thing with blocking in both the running game and the passing game. So, but I think your point with the D-line is great. Because again, those guys, there's nobody that shines in the camp setting more than Larry Johnson. Because when he's honed in on a guy and he's working them and he's again, when you get one of those 5-star guys, like the kid from Louisiana up there, like Larry Johnson isn't leaving that guy the whole day. And he's teaching him on every rep and he's doing the drills with him and not the bag drills, but like the hand fit drills. And he's constantly correcting how he works his hands and this move and the swim rip and spin and all that other stuff. So I think it's beneficial for those guys more than plus like one-on-one pass rush, like when you're a defensive lineman is the funnest drill in the world. When you're an offensive lineman, it's completely stupid and worthless, but that's just my opinion. Cause I came up as a D lineman and I never lost a rep of that drill ever. I mean, because it's the most rigged drill in the history of mankind for the D line. So when they like win these D line, these drills in like the rivals camp and the Ohio State camp, I'm like any moron can win that. I mean, like my grandma could go out there and bull rush somebody in a one-on-one pass rush drill with no pads on, but sometimes they allow that. Nevada, another receiver. A day that ends in Y. We have Philip Bell jumping into the fold pretty quick here. Um, big time guy. Big time guy. Mission Viejo, California. The old Nevadabuck stomping grounds. 6'1", 200. I mean, Georgia was probably the number 2. So anytime you can beat Georgia, it's a good day. But your thoughts on Philip Bell? Because this is another Heartline, part of the Heartline Hall. Here we go.
Well, I mean, this guy's a big timer, and yeah, I thought for a long time that he was going to USC. Seemed like a USC type of wide receiver. Um, Actually, I mean, I'm not sure if he's 6'1", 200. I mean, I've got him listed at 6'2", 190, whatever it is. He's a strapped up dude, and I've seen him play multiple times. Seen him play since he was like in sixth grade, and he's always just been a dominant kid, and um, excited to see it. It's hard not to think Chris Olave when you see a guy like this because they play a lot the same way. You know, Obviously Orange County is San Diego, but the same general region of Southern California, and getting SoCal wide receivers for Ohio State has been a mixed bag. But obviously Olave was one of the gems of them all. But I mean, this is a really good player, really good kid. I mean, when you're talking about guys like this, and you start comparing them to, Decorian Moore or Vernell Brown or Jamie French, I mean, there's just not a lot of difference. I mean, these guys are all right there in terms of explosiveness. I mean, this guy can do it all. He can play in any position on the field, and is just a big timer for Mission Viejo, who plays super competitive football, and he's been dominating the best of the best. So, really excited to see. I'd like to see a commitment. We're hearing the drumbeat speeding. We're thinking that it's happening, but if it happens, I'm going to be excited because this is a really good player.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is when Brian goes on a kid, I mean, he's going on the kid because he thinks he's going to be another first round pick. And again, you see the speed, the acceleration. I mean, these guys are, it's almost silly what he's doing right now, but with the guys that he's pulling. But this is another guy that, we're going to beat Georgia on, and he's the guy that, could play early. And again, he's good, but he's in the most loaded room in college football. So, I'm sure Brian does a really good job of evaluating these kids and their character because not everybody's cut out to wait. And, when you come to Ohio State, man, I mean, barring a miracle like J.J. Smith being, maybe the best freshman receiver in the history of college football, like you're going to have to wait a little bit. But this is a kid that he's got a good makeup. He's tough. Obviously, you see him fight for the ball. You see the explosion. I mean, this guy's got a lot of tools. And a lot of it is just one of those things where when you keep stacking these guys up, it's just scary. Like with him and Milan, like you don't know. We throw in Vernell, which he looks pretty likely to jump in the boat. Vernell Brown, and I like Vernell because he's different from the others because he's more of a Devin Hester type guy than he is this. But his routes are killer. But yeah, I mean it's Brian likes to get his work done before the season and get guys committed and be locked in, and he's been recruiting like a monster, and it's been absolutely awesome. So I hope that this kid sticks. I think he will. Again, like it's us in Georgia, and again when you take kids like this that are coveted by Georgia and SC, I mean they're going to keep calling him. But I think that with Brian, he once he gets these tentacles around these kids, man, they don't go anywhere. So yeah, his film's he's exceptional. Nevada, again, I know we talk ad nauseum about receivers. Is there ever any disadvantage to taking this many superstar receivers? Because again, there's with the portal, there's always a thought: could a guy take off in a year or in 6 months? Because it happened for us last year, where the 2 Rodgers left and one came back and one took off to NC State. But what are your thoughts on that? Because again, we're taking 4, it seems, in almost every class because you got to expect a couple to take off every year, and you got to reload the bottom of the room. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Brian's he's handing out lottery tickets right now. I mean, he's like, look, you come here, you do everything I say, you do a little bit more, and you'll be a centimillionaire. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And that's why when we get commitments at this position, we don't get a lot of decommitments. Even though he's offering early and we're not getting a lot of guys that commit and then, end up going, I changed my mind, I'm going to go somewhere else
Hmm.
because the OSU wide receiver legacy, it just builds. It's not diminishing; it's getting bigger and bigger with each passing year. So no, I think you need to have four at a position like this because you've got so many three and outs. You've got the transfer portal. You've obviously always got the risk of injury and other things. And I think they're going to be playing 5 and 6 guys regularly this year. I think there's a commitment from that seems to be a top down thing from Ryan Day. We've talked about how they really were kind of four centric. I think it's going to be expanded. I think that's in response to the longer season, the portal, and other things about getting guys involved. But I think you're going to see them, going six deep on a regular basis right now, and I think that'll mean more action for some of the younger guys, and all the more reason why you're going to need four in this class. And I think Ohio State will absolutely have four wide receivers in this class. I think Vernell Brown will be the fourth.
Yeah, I do too. I think that Vernell, obviously the Florida competition is real just because dad and grandpa played there, but Florida, I mean, they're going to be looking for a new coach here in about 4 months. So, I mean, you can't, if you have a chance to go with Brian Hartline, I don't know how you don't do that. I mean, there's been circumstances like throughout time in sports where certain teams are dynasties. And it's like when Calipari was really cooking when he had DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall and Unibrow and all those guys. Like, I mean, it was like every year he had 4 or 5 guys that were lottery picks, and he knew the system. He knew how to prepare guys. The NBA trusted him, and whatever. Like, I mean, it was almost silly if you're one of those guys you didn't go to Kentucky. That's kind of what it's like with Brian. Like, Brian's like, if you stick to the plan, give me 3 or 4 years. You'll either be a high round pick or you'll get into a camp and you'll be able to make a team, dominate, whatever. You look at like Xavier. I mean, Xavier's he's got a shot to make the Bills. I mean, so even if you don't have the desired like draft outcome, the tools that you're going to learn in Brian's wide receiver room from route running and overall game awareness between him and Ryan Day, it's going to be a way to help you cling to a roster, make a roster, and do your thing. I mean, because that's all you want is a chance to make an NFL team. Obviously, you want to be a first round pick like Marvin, but we've seen guys that have made it. KJ Hill, some of these guys they stick in the league for a little bit, and it's good. It's just good for Zone 6 and for the continuance of what we're doing with the Buckeyes. Any final thoughts, Nevada? We could dig into a couple super chats. All right.
No, I just
Uh,
thought, yeah,
go ahead.
I just like I was just gonna say, I just think that what Brian, we take it for granted what Brian Hartline's doing right now, but it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's probably for one position group to one school. I mean, I can't think of any parallels for it. I mean, I hate to keep
Mhm.
using hyperbole, like oh, it's the best ever. But I mean, can somebody even point me to anything even remotely close to this? Because it's just ridiculous what he's doing, and he does it year in and year out, and he does it in different. It's not like he's just mining one region of the country. He's doing it nationally, and it's crazy. But I don't ever take it for granted because I know it won't last forever. But boy, it's sure fun while it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'll enjoy it for as long as it's here and he's doing his thing because I think he's a guy that's done a lot in his short time as the wide receivers coach. And you look at like Marvin Harrison goes to his mini camp with the Arizona Cardinals, and he's running as the first wide receiver. Obviously, you expect that as the number 4 guy, but he's already a leader. He already acts like a pro, and a lot of that's his dad as well. But like I said, these guys they show up and they're ready made to contribute the second they get to an NFL team, and I think that's appealing because again, you guys know that follow NFL football. Like not all rookie receivers are ready to roll as soon as they get to a team, and some of those guys they never are ready to roll because they don't have all of the nuanced technical stuff that they learned from Brian Hartline in terms of being able to get separation, being able to be a pro. being able to study defenses and study coverages and all that. Because that's like when you get to the NFL, man, it is a different level of sophistication and toughness. And I'll tell you what, man, it's exciting to see what he's going to do with this room going forward. And again, I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough with Brian is like, he's going to manage a lot of egos, because I mean, you ain't just dealing with them kids now. You're dealing with them parents. You're dealing with agents. I mean, you're dealing with people from all over the board when you've got receivers and touches and snaps and why isn't my kid playing and why is my kid getting burned and whatever. And so, he does a really good job of that because he's really matter of fact. And, I think a lot of that, Urban was the master of that, where he kept a file on every kid. And if if dad showed up and he was all upset that his little Johnny wasn't playing, then Urban would have a folder. He'd have film clips and be like, well, here's your kid getting smashed in this, this inside run drill. Here's your kid missing a tackle. Here's your kid failed a drug test. Here's a kid late to class. Like, he'd have this file of like ammunition ready to go because dads would show up, man, and it would be a bad day because it was like Urban had the ambush ready to go for those guys when because some of those dads are crazy now, and I mean that's something that is always interesting to deal with when you're dealing with those guys inside the whack. All right, Iowa Buck, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Kirk is a police officer for 17 years of service. Support like yours keeps me coming to work. Thank you. I really appreciate that. How do you think the carriers will split between Q and Trey? Cannot wait to see it. Well, again, I am very pro police officer. And again, after the conversation I had last night for about 30 minutes with a guy, I'm going to keep him anonymous, but he's a guy who was finishing up his shift and chasing down gang leaders and busted drugs. I mean, he had a day. I mean, it was a day. I mean, unlicensed firearms. I mean, it's stuff that's really, really dangerous and scary, and it's on the streets, and it's never on the news. And, and like, I'm like, dude, like, people don't realize, like, you guys are like superheroes. Like, I mean, people like to denigrate you guys. And again, like, part of it is with, and I'm not going to go down the political road, but like with, when they don't support these guys and they don't, incarcerate some of these guys that are really bad people, it hurts. It hurts these officers because you've got bad people out there roaming around. Especially when they cuff them and then they let them right out. And it's just like, what are you guys doing? But I think about you cops all the time. Again, I know that you guys have the hardest job in the entire world, especially right now. And I appreciate you guys. So that's why I say it. Because again, it's our show and we're very pro law enforcement on here in an insane time when it comes to people and how they treat law enforcement. The carries I think will be, well, I don't know if you want to do all, because if it's between the two of them, I'd say, I don't know, man. I want to say like 40, 20. The 20 could be James Peoples. And that might be high. I mean, James Peoples might be like 15. Any other young backs that they want to give some touches to. And even if you want to throw Will Howard in there, because I think that's like something that's going to eat up some carries this year is we're going to run the quarterback, which we haven't done in the past. But it wouldn't surprise me. And again, if Quinchon somehow out-carried Trey, but I think Trey will be the goal line guy just because he's the senior and the captain. He's been here. And so, if I was Ryan, I'd really want to make a mark to pad Trey's stats as much as possible to make sure that he's in the running for the Doak Walker. Because that's one thing we haven't really been super competitive on is like the Doak Walker. So what are your thoughts on that? How do you split the carries between Quinchon and Trey?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty close. It's just you've got two guys that are exceptional backs, two guys. I think the postseason awards are going to be so tough because you've got two exceptional backs, and that's just an unfortunate byproduct of you're not going to be able to feed some guy hundreds of carries and give him all the goal line action because you've got two great backs, and rightfully, as you mentioned, Will Howard's going to start taking. Well, the quarterback taking carries is going to become an item, whereas before or I shouldn't say before, but in the past 3 years that hasn't even been a thought for us. But the quarterback taking carries is going to start to become a something. So yeah, I've got it like I think it's gonna be like 40-40, and then 20% all others, including Will Howard, including James Peoples, including whatever else they do. But I think Trey and Quinchon are going to be pretty darn close, and probably to their detriment when it comes to awards, but certainly a benefit to the team because to have two running backs of that caliber is almost unheard of at Ohio State or anywhere, and it's going to be something to see in 2024.
I think we're gonna have a really strong crew, and I think it's gonna be, this is gonna be as strong a running back room as we've ever had. I think starting with Carlos Loughlin, the energy he has, and then Quinshon and Trey are, again, they're two first round picks. Like, we've never had like two guys that are that good in the same year. They're both gonna go out for the draft this year. And in a long season, there's never been a better time to have two first round running backs because when it gets cold and snowy and bad, um, kind of is what it is. Coconut Dreams, 1, 2, 3. Thank you for being an ultra. Thank you for the deuce. What's going on with Steely? Do tell, please, Nevada OH.
Oh,
Steely, he's fine. I mean, he's on a little bit of a timeout right now, but he can come back. The thing with Steely is, like, again, we don't ban people. People ban themselves. So again, don't harass our members, even if it's a Michigan person. As long as they don't act up, they're fine. Again, if they harass people, we ban them. We've banned hundreds of people on this show. So, we've got it under control. We have a great crew that moderates between Hakeem, Doreen, Devin, Kim, myself, and others. So, again, I'm not into whatever's going on, but people have been warned multiple times, and so eventually, you got to take some action. And again, with abuse comes control, and it is what it is. So again, I like Steely. I think he's great. He's on here all the time. We appreciate all that he does. But we're not going to put up with people harassing members of the chat, even if they're Michigan fans. Again, as long as Michigan fans don't say anything stupid, they're fine. They're allowed to watch the show just like everybody else is. But if they act up, they get banned too. Again, we've banned hundreds of people on this channel. So yeah, again, I have nothing personal against Steely. So it is what it is. Nevada, you have any thoughts?
no, it's hard. These are hard. We just want people to get along. This is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. And we've said many times on the thing, we love it when we have people with other points of view on the show, other fan bases, other things. Like I said, just as long as they're nice, if they're kind and they're nice and they're respectful, man, they are welcome. And we want it to be a welcome place for everyone, including Steely. So we hope when he comes back that he's mindful of that and that we move on. And it's like I said, I hate even talking about stuff like this because it's like message board or YouTube chat drama. But we just want everybody to get all we're trying is to have a nice community where people can enjoy themselves and get away for an hour and talk Ohio State sports because that's what this community is all about.
Absolutely. Jim Jackson, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Do recruits like Davis Sanders Jr. notice all of the commits coming to OSU, and does that have any effect on their decisions? I think they absolutely do. I think that when you're, these kids grew up in the super team era, the Heat, and they see these guys want to link up, and that's kind of the beauty of like social media and Instagram and Twitter. Like 20 years ago, it was like, how would you link up? Like, what do you have, AOL screen names or something where you guys can communicate back and forth? I think that now these kids, they get to know each other. They go to camps together. They play 7-on-7 together. They go on visits. Like I said, they get to know each other on visits. They go to Georgia together. They happen to be at the same place, same time. They might hit it off, and like I would be very hesitant to join a program that didn't have a lot of big time players coming in because it makes your life a lot harder. Your life's gonna be way harder if you don't have a great quarterback and great running backs and great receivers and a great offensive guard next to you. What's your pathway to winning a championship, to graduating, to being a first round pick in the NFL draft? Like a kid, not every kid's got the potential to be a first round pick, but a kid like he does certainly does. And I think that he's got a decision to make, and I think that I mean, you want to talk about signs from God. I mean, dude, like Tennessee screws his name up. Georgia has had 1 million arrests in the last year. Culture's a dumpster fire. Kids are leaving in the portal for no reason to go to Kentucky and stupidity like that. So I don't know. Like, I mean, if your favorite player is Paris Johnson and you know, I give PJ credit because PJ's not going to push him to Ohio State, but PJ knows like this is what Ohio State did for me. You want to see my mansion in Arizona? I'm a first round pick left tackle. What do you want to be in 3 years? First round pick left tackle. Yeah, I mean, and Georgia's put guys in the league, but Georgia, they've had multiple offensive line coaches, and their culture is crazy right now. Now I know that their football team is incredible, and they're a top two program. I mean, if you say Kirk, if you had to put a gun to your head, who's the other supernova program outside of Ohio State right now? It's Georgia. But I just think from a culture standpoint, it's a complete 180. I mean, the people I talk to, the Woody Hayes, I mean, we get these inside information reports on BuckeyeScoop.com on our message board, and he says best culture they've seen in 20 years at Ohio State. I mean, the kids are great. The kids are locked in, not filth, not nasty. And it's not like that everywhere. There's some places where you go and it's like you got to take a shower after you leave the facility because the people are so terrible. But, at the Woody Hayes, I mean, they've got great kids and they've recruited great kids. And, they've really, they always say you recruit your own problems. And, we don't really have any problem kids. And it's when your leaders are your hardest workers and your best players like Trey Henderson and Jack Sawyer, like, life's great. And those guys came back to hold people accountable and get everybody, kind of, churning in the right direction where they can go win a national championship. And I think I truly believe they're going to do that this year because, they had a great crew coming back, and then they add Caleb Downs and Will Howard and Quinshon Judkins and, Seth McLaughlin. I mean, that's incredible what they've been able to do this offseason on top of Chip Kelly, which is insane. But yeah, I think that, when you're David Sanders and you can go anywhere. Let's say, well, what's going on at Ohio State? Well, they decided. I mean, Chip Kelly left UCLA's head coaching job to be a coordinator here, so he picked that over more money and everything else living in LA. These kids are jumping in, these receivers are jumping in. You got a great quarterback in the class already, so that's going to kind of be your guy that it's going to be your roll dog. I don't know, man. I like the momentum. This is when if I'm Ryan Day, I'm texting, calling, Instagramming every day because Ryan's going to win this. I mean, this isn't just the Justin Fry show, and I know everybody likes to beat the O-line coach to death, but when you're talking about the best player in the country, like the head coach has to be the main recruiter on that. There's no way Urban Meyer wouldn't be the lead dog on this because like that's what you have to do. If you're Kirby Smart, you're the lead dog on this. Like this is kind of what it is, or whoever. Nevada, what are your thoughts? Do recruits like David Sanders Jr. notice all of the commits coming to OSU, and does he have any effect on the decision? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, it does. And we've talked about this decision tree about how kids come to the decision to where they're going to go and what it's going to be about. And I just think that when you're talking about big decisions like this that involve potential generational wealth, your chances are better when you're playing with good players. I mean, I don't care how good Kirk Barton is. If Kirk Barton is playing with four dogs on the offensive line, you're probably not. I mean, you still can shine and you still can do your things, but you're not going to look as good as you do when you're playing with four competent guys with a competent quarterback and a competent running back and a competent coaching staff. It's hard. I mean, you certainly can shine, and there's stories about those guys that make it all the time, but the degree of difficulty is just so much higher than when you're putting yourself in a good spot. And you're putting yourself in a good spot where you're training with the best, where you're practicing with the best, where you're being coached by the best. And you're 100% right. These kids all grew up in the super team era. They all want to be at that. That is the first thing that you hear when you're talking, who else is there? What's going on? Where's it? And whether we like it or not, whether we think it's great or not or whatever, Ohio State is the super team. Ohio State is the place where the transfers are going, where the kids are staying, where the coaches are going. The fact that we just kind of gloss over the fact that Chip Kelly left a head coaching, not just a head coach, he left a UCLA football head coaching job to be a coordinator for us. It's just crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. It just shows you to the heights to which Ohio State has kind of ascended, and it's just madness. I mean, the 2024 season is going to be the wackiest season that I've ever seen, and Ohio State is just loaded, and we just have such an abundance of riches that I don't even think that I think we've grown numb to it. But yeah, the other recruits see it, they know it, they can feel it, they want to be part of it, and that's why Ohio State right now has the highest rated recruiting class in the history of recruiting. Because people want to be a part of it. I think David Sanders is going to be the next guy that becomes a part of it. So that could happen earlier than you think.
And Jim, I absolutely got your um, Davis Sanders Jr. thing. Again, for those of you guys, if you guys didn't see the show yesterday, Tennessee and their eternal stupidity, they put off little name badges at the table so you can sit by whoever, your O line coach or whoever, and instead of David Sanders Jr., they spelled it Davis Sanders Jr. So I totally got that reference, Jim. But like I said, that's when I said that this is kind of like a sign from God, where it's like where, when, and again, was it an honest mistake? I'm sure, obviously it was. But if they don't proofread and again, nobody caught that either. So it's like you've got some intern typing this up, you've got some recruiting girl putting these little name badges out, you've got coaches walking past it. Nobody caught that they spelled his name wrong. So that's insanity. And again, like, maybe I'm just old fashioned, but like if your name is David and they spell it Davis, like that's just pure stupidity.
Now, Kirk, I have to tell you, I cannot stop laughing. I have this vision of you sitting there with Ethan Posick and his parents, and Meyer keeps saying Evan, and I don't know why that just cracks me up, because you must have been dying. You must have just been trying to. I mean, I can't even imagine what was going on in your brain at that point. You're like, do I interrupt Coach Meyer? Do I acknowledge the mistake? Maybe he doesn't say it again. Maybe we just go, oh no, he just said it again. Oh no, now I'm too committed. He said it twice. Oh no, he just said it a third time. I don't know why that just cracks me up just thinking about that. But that had to be a horrible. You have to have post traumatic stress disorder from that.
Well, you guys wonder why I drink beer sometimes. It's because of stuff like that. I'm sitting there and I'm just like, we put in all this work, man. And I'm like, I love that kid. And again, that's why, like, sometimes in life, there's other sides to the story. So again, like, I know the O-line coach is always the biggest whipping boy on staff. It doesn't matter if it's Jim Bowman, Ed Warner, Greg Sudwara, Justin Fry, whatever. Like, and so, if Ed Warner gets like, nailed to the cross and crucified in the middle of the oval because we lost Ethan Posick, they're like, he's lazy and doesn't have his phone number and he's fat and he's dumb and, he looks like a ogre or a hunchback. Like, he had nothing to do with why we lost Ethan Posick. Neither did Vrabel. And again, and I love Urban Meyer, but I mean, sometimes there's just stuff that you just can't, like, I mean, I don't know what Ed's supposed to do. He wasn't even in the room. He was talking to another like 5-star kid. I mean, that was a day like, dude, I mean, early in spring practice in 12 when Urban got there, man, it was like every practice there were a ton of really good players coming because everybody wanted to see Urban. Urban was Mick Jagger, and he's at Ohio State now. And how does he look in the Buckeye shirt and his practice full metal jacket every day? So every day was like an A+ recruiting day because kids were coming from all over the country to come see Urban Meyer at Ohio State because it was like the supernova of Ohio State and then the supernova of Urban Meyer at his zenith. And I mean, so he was with another big time recruit. So we had to split off. And that day I took Posick all day and he took whoever. But it was like, yeah, but I'm sure there was some idiot that was like, Ed Warner can't close. And again, like Ed's not captain personality or anything. But no, you have to understand the O-line coaches are the fattest, dorkiest. Like, I mean, they're the guys at your high school prom that are on the wall, no date, hoping that some girl will give them a slow dance or something. Cause that's what they are. They're not the smooth talkers. They're not the jive guys. They're not the cool cats. And so they're not going to be as smooth as Brian Hartline, who's got, played in the NFL, drives a Lamborghini, has veneers. Like that's not what they are. They're big fat dudes that, chew tobacco and, eat donuts and, watch film all night and whatever. So drink their Captain and Cokes and have a good time. So I don't know. Like, that's why I always laugh and be like, why isn't he a big smooth recruiter? I was like, well, have you ever like gone to a football convention, guys, and seen the O-line guys? Fat, sweaty, they got the sweat jacket on, little hat on. It's just like, that's what they are, And again, you can't fault that because what they play in high school? O-line. So they were fat back then too. So when they become to college and they're fat, it's like they're not going to be the smooth operators. I'm just telling you. So I don't know what's going to change that, but it's like when I ask people who's the best recruiting offensive line coach in the country, not like Brian Hartline, not like Kerry Combs, not like, like these young, energetic, Matt Giriani, James Laurinaitis, like the you never named the line coach, but this kind of is what it is. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because again, I love, like, when I can project who's going to be the whipping boys on staff every year, because it's always the coordinator. Because people they'll hate Chip Kelly at some point too, and they'll hate Justin Fry because he's the line coach. But what are your thoughts on that? Because every year I can project the whipping boy, and I'm almost like 100% accurate. I wish I could do that, like I could do soccer lines sometimes. But your thoughts?
Keenan Bailey, 2 words. I mean, come on. We all
But
know. We all
the
know.
the hard part is he's a tight ends coach, and the tight end doesn't even do anything.
I
Nobody cares about the
know.
tight end.
I know.
It's like,
We're not. I know, but that's all the more reason why we can yell at him and stuff like that. We can yell at him because the tight end doesn't do something, or somebody misses a block, or something like that. Keenan's our guy. Like, he's our guy. Like, direct your ire towards him. And I think we just got to focus all of our negative energy on Keenan Bailey and keep it away from the other 9 coaches right there. I think it's a fair trade-off. I think if we're willing, it's like when they stormed Normandy Beach. Some guys weren't going to make it. Some guys were going to make it and go up to the pillboxes and stuff like that and push us inland. I think Keenan Bailey's he's a guy that's going to have to be sacrificed to the masses, because you're right. Somebody's got to get it, and we don't want it to be Chip Kelly and Justin Fry. I think Justin Fry is actually going to have a good year this year. So I'm saying the official whipping boy for everybody is Keenan Bailey. I'm calling it right now. That's my thing. I'm claiming him.
nobody will be rooting harder for G. Scott to headbutt somebody during the Michigan game than you. Like, if that happens, you'll grab your Coco thing and just throw it into the masses of people. That'll be like, I told you he'd be the whipping boy. Somebody. I told you.
But, oh gosh, yeah.
I love it.
That could happen.
Blue Wolverine, thanks for the deuce. A red down arrow with vertical words here. I love these emoji things, but I appreciate that. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Dave Mathis, thank you for the 5. Nevada with Kirk at quarterback. Oh God, what's his over/under for rushing TDs going into the season, and how many games do we win? Love watching from work. Nevada OH.
Well,
I mean, I could beat Akron for sure. I mean, God bless. I mean, I can catch a ball and hand it to Quinshawn. Like, that's not hard to do. I could throw it to JJ on like tunnel screens. It's like a 20-yard pass. I can't run slow. I'm 39 years old now. So, at my peak when I was a unit, oh God, I'd kill those guys. We'd be running quarterback power nonstop. But it's like right now I ain't running nowhere. I might run to 5 guys to get me a cheeseburger. I might run to Twin Peaks or Buffalo Wild Wings. Shout out our sponsors. But that's it. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Nevada? Because this is directed to you. What is the over/under on rushing touchdowns, and how many games would we win? Well, I mean, God bless. I mean, outside of Oregon, Oregon would be tough for me to win because I can't throw it like Dylan Gabriel. But I think I could win the rest of them. But what are your thoughts?
I think the over/under on wins would be like 7. I think we'd win at least 7 games, and I'd say 7 games, 7 rushing TDs. So I would like to see the. I mean, we get down close and you run that zone read action or something like that, and then you're just like lowering it. And go, you could do it. I mean, if we put like a tray of cheeseburgers in the back of the end zone or something like that, you'd plow through guys to get to that. I've seen that action before. You know what I'm saying? You still got it.
God. Oh my! Are you kidding? 7 wins? Are you crazy? Like, I have Quinshawn Judkins and Trey Henderson. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, I would just ball control to Major Tom. I'd be like Woody. I'd be like Woody Hayes, and we just run it. We just ground. I mean, it'd be like ground hamburger. Like, I mean, I don't have to. It's not hard when you have 2 ace running backs. Like, I can catch the ball, hand it, or I can run the triple and pitch it. That's not that hard. JJ Smith would hate me, and Emeka would hate me. They'd probably transfer to USC or somewhere because then they could actually catch the ball. But that wouldn't be fun for those guys. But it's like those who say we'll be champions. So 7? Are you kidding? Like, we play like Akron and Indiana with our defense. We only got to score 14 points with our defense.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
God, you're a hater. My God. That's terrible.
I want to see
Blue.
you at the goal line. I want to see you at the goal line. Kirk Martin putting his head down. Oh, he's going in, man. He's going in. There's a vodka tonic in the back of the end zone. Kirk's going in, baby.
No, that's you. Like
Oh,
I want Crown
that
Royal.
is,
I don't drink no vodka tonic. I don't drink that sugar water. Are you crazy? You must lost your mind. All those fumes you've been huffing the last 3 days.
uh, true
Blue,
that, man.
Blue okay, National Lampoon's Drive.
Oh
Blue
gosh.
Wolverine,
Oh,
thank you for the 10. Thank you for the ultra member. I mean, no harm. Thank you too for entertaining the question I ask. One thing I say about the scoop is how consistent it is. I don't know if we're consistent or we're just crazy. It's one or the other, but it could be both. I can appreciate the work it takes to put on a show daily. I mean, I'm just telling y'all, like, there are some days where it's like it's 6:45 and I'm like, Nevada, what in the world are we going to talk about tonight? But we figured it out. And again, a lot of it is credit to you guys because you guys ask us some incredible questions. And again, I can't thank you guys enough because you guys ask questions. I'm like, I'd have never thought of that. That's genius. And again, you guys, this show doesn't exist without the people in the Scoop family, the people that are part of the show, and the people that support the show, support Pay It Forward, and bring the heat. Because again, I love when you guys ask these incredible questions and we get to answer them. And because then you guys are like, okay, I had something I was dying to know, and usually we can give you guys a pretty thorough answer on it. And I think that that's my favorite part of the whole show because there's some days, man, it's we're scraping now. It's the off season, whatever, but we bring it. I mean, we've missed, I think, maybe 2 or 3 shows since like late October, which is insane. I mean, we're almost to July, so nobody's cranking content. And again, we don't go for 12 minutes. We go for like an hour, hour and 45 minutes. We've gone for 2.5 hours. I mean, we did the Alabama watch parties like 4 hours long. So, we might be nuts, but hey, it's fun. Like I love doing it every night. I love kicking it with you guys every night. Excited to see you guys on the 29th. Again, I think you guys are awesome people. It's just so fun, and I've met so many great people. And we, Nevada and I, and Kim and the family, and Doreen and Devin and Akeem, we all appreciate you guys so much for all that you guys do on the show. Nevada Blue Wolverine, again, thank you for being an ultra member, and thank you for the 10. He says he means no harm. Thank you too for entertaining the questions. The one thing I can say about the scoop is how consistent it is. I can appreciate the work it takes to put on a show daily. What are your thoughts?
well, look, you talked about the questions. I mean, that's the show. The show is a question show. It's like America's Got Talent. If you didn't have the talent, there'd be no show. You know what I'm saying? You guys are the performers that are out there asking the questions, and Kirk and I are just kind of responding. So you guys are the show. That's why while it's hard to put on a daily show, it's really not because as long as we have
No.
a great audience and great questions, man, the show flies by. And the more questions, the longer we go. And like Kirk says, sometimes there's days when there's not a lot going on, and the show will go on for 2 hours. And the other days we're packed and we try to cram it all into an hour as much as we can. But no, you guys are the show, and we're just happy to be here and be the ringmasters of this circus.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way to put it. Again, it's so fun and it's so rewarding to see a community build and people get to know each other and have a good time and appreciate each other and like I appreciate all you guys. Again, like I have people that call me out of the blue. And again, if you're on BuckeyeScoop.com, and again, people think I'm crazy, but everyone on there has my personal cell phone. So people get on there, they hit me up. Again, I talked to an officer last night, and like it was like 35 minutes of just an unbelievable talk with a police officer. Not gonna say where he's at, but he's like thank you so much for like supporting us and thanking us because it's hard out there. And I'm like, dude, like I trust me, I get it. Like I mean, it's brutal for you guys. And again, I don't get into political stuff, but it's like it's hard. But I thank God for the people that take care of this community, our first responders, our officers, our military, and what they do. And again, that's a big part of our community is that we support them, and we're proud of that. Like our gear all has the American flag on it because we stand up for our country. We appreciate our country on the scoop. So we thank you guys again. Pooh Beard 12, appreciate you, my friend. Alfred has been to Bama for the last 8 games, and he smoked there. listen to Bama Pod, and they view flipping him as revenge for us getting Caleb Downs. Well, I mean, like I don't, I think with Bama, it's if I'm a recruit, it's wait and see mode right now with Kalen DeBoer. If Saban was there, yeah, I'd be a lot more nervous about it. But I mean, following up Nick Saban is going to be miserably hard for him. And again, he was the coach of the year. He's the guy that there was a time last year where Nevada and I were saying, if Ryan Day would have taken the Patriots job or left or went to the Bears or whatever, like all these different rumors, that would have been the first guy we would have wanted because I thought he was a really good coach. But I'm just telling you, man, like going to the South, dealing with Bear Bryant Jr., who is nuts, dealing with the expectations, and I mean, the expectations are so unrealistic after what Nick Saban just did. Like, winning one national title, sorry, he won like 7, I think, or something crazy like that. So I think it's wait and see because before Saban got to Bama, they stunk. Like during my era, we never even thought of Alabama as an op. Like we never thought of them as someone where we're like, well, we better. I don't know. I just I don't know. Like I'd be really wary of Bama this year. But I don't. Again, could he flip? Any kid can flip. But I just think that Ohio State's got such momentum with that kid that I think we're in really good shape. Nevada, Pooh Beard 12. Again, thank you for being on show. Thanks for being on here every night, Pooh Beard. Because again, you always bring great questions, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the 5. Alfred has been to Bama 4 of the last 8 games, and he smoked there. Listen to a Bama pod, and they view flipping him as revenge for us getting Downs. Well, and I'm sure they're trying to get likes and hits and views too. But what are your thoughts, Nevada?
Look, you never say never when it comes to recruiting. So could it happen? Sure. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Is it likely to happen? I don't think so. Offord's been one of the most stalwart recruiters for Ohio State. He's never wavered. He's never given any indication. Now, again, have I seen guys like that flip? Sure. But do I think he's going to? I don't. And if Saban was there, I'd be a lot more wary. Now that Saban's gone, I mean, Alabama's just a guy right now. That's all they are. They're just a guy. You've said this many times, Greg. Before Saban got there, Alabama hadn't done a whole heck of a lot. I think they had one good year. Other than that, they were absolutely irrelevant in terms of the national thing since Bear Bryant had been there. So I'm not really that worried about Alabama. Should I be? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think he's solid.
Well, I mean, like Alabama, literally from I think it was Brady's senior year when he beat Alabama when they had Sean Alexander to 07. Like I think Brady went into the league in 01 maybe. And for 01 to 07, so basically like my college career was from 03 to 07. Like Alabama was completely irrelevant. Like go look at the top 25 polls, go look at BCS standings. Like I mean, I was never like, oh God, here comes Alabama. It was I mean in 04 Auburn was the team that went undefeated in the SEC, and they didn't put in the game because again, the SEC basically didn't really exist until we lost the Florida game. We lost the Florida game. The SEC became the greatest thing in the history of mankind. So I expect to get my royalty check from them at some point from that stupid game. But, like Auburn was undefeated, and, Florida, obviously in 06, they took off. 07, they were good. 08, they won the national championship again. And then, Saban really started cranking in 09. That's when he really got that thing up and going good. But, I don't know. Like I said, I think that you look at the talent drain that's come out of Bama with Caleb Downs and Julian Saint just coming to Ohio State is substantial. And, like I said, I said this 8 million times. If you guys were on the Caleb Downs megacast, where I swear to God, in like December, we did like 7 straight Caleb Downs shows. And every night I'm just like, look, it might have been January. It might have been after that championship, after we beat, or after the Michigan game with Washington, where they gave up 8 million yards on the ground. They gave up like 300 yards on the ground. I'm like, I watched that defense. I watched the structure of it. I watched how undisciplined, how ungap sound it was, and I'm like, dude, if you're playing safety in that, and the guys in front of you aren't gap sound, like there's going to be running backs running 4 3s at you all day, and you're going to have to try to track them down and hawk them, and you're going to look terrible because you're always going to be running down these running backs because the guys in front of you aren't sound. And again, like that's the thing about Jim Knowles is like, I think his defense is very sound. There's some things that he does where I think that he puts, a safety in a spot where there should be a linebacker, but outside of that, I think he's pretty good. But Washington's was like just absolutely atrocious. And when they ran into Michigan, man, and Michigan ran their gap power scheme, they bulldozed them. And if you're not gap sound versus a team that runs an offense like that, like Michigan did, it's going to be an absolute disaster. And it was. So again, I don't know. Like if I'm playing DB, I want to see how these DB coaches look because Bama was Bama in the secondary because Nick Saban's the greatest secondary coach that's ever lived in the history of football. There's never been a better DB's coach than Nick Saban. So, if I'm Caleb Downs and he goes there, then God bless him. He's as good as it gets. But when he leaves, I'm heading to a greener pasture. Emperor Zeus, great name. I like emperors and I like Zeus. So thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. I know there is a difference between the military and sports, but Lincoln was at school all year and should have been ready. I have weeks sometimes to get sailors and soldiers ready. Coaching? Well, I think that's very fair for you to say that, to say that he should, should have been ready. I mean, I agree. Like, he potentially should have looked better, but I think that when you put Matt Jones at center and Matt doesn't know the calls, that's going to make it really tough. Again, I'm not going to make any military comparisons because I'll just embarrass myself trying to talk your vernacular. But I think the biggest problem with Lincoln is that he played scout team all year. And again, I played scout team. So what scout team is all preseason during training camp. It's, you're running your team's plays versus each other and scrimmaging and all that. And trying to make a team, trying to get a seat on the travel squad, make the bus, make the 2 deep, whatever. When that ends, you get into regular season prep. And so like week 1, we play Akron. So, when they practice on Tuesday, because in college football, you practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's it for the week. Sunday, you usually do like a light practice walkthrough. We actually might practice Monday because it's week 1. But after week 1, you usually don't practice on Monday. You kind of have an extra day because you didn't have a game on Saturday. So I, once the practice gets going, you get to a period that's called offense versus scouts or defense versus scouts. And basically what that consists of is like, if it's defense versus scouts, then it's like the defense, the first team defense that you guys all think of, Jack Story, JT Tuimoloau, Caleb Downs, Cody Simon, Davis Igbenogson, like they're all on the first team defense. On the scouts is like your third string offensive lineman, some second string offensive lineman, your freshmen, your young kids. Lincoln Keenholz is your quarterback. And a lot of times during that part of practice, like you're reading cards. So like it's literally like a card that'll have a play drawn up on it. And the guys hold it up and they read it and they say, okay, you're throwing it to this guy, you're throwing this drag route or this dig or whatever. This is a protection, and you block the end and you block this guy and whatever. So a lot of times when you do that, and again, it might be different now. Maybe they use the right terminology or whatever. Kids don't really learn the playbook like you would think they should, because the problem with saying everything as your exact plays is that if I say, hey, this protection or this running play or this pass concept is the same as the one that we run at Ohio State, there's always little things that are different. And so, you can't call it, hey, this is China, or this is a slant sluggo seam or whatever, all over different passing plays. So, there's times where I'd say, well, hey, this is this running play, but then the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator, like Tom Herman, would say, no, it's not the same. That's not how they do it. That's not how they studied it, like whatever. So what I'm saying is that a lot of the young guys don't learn the offense very well during the season because they're looking at cards. So, when Lincoln got into the game, I was like, well, I bet you he didn't run the offense all year because he was probably the scout team quarterback, because, your top 2 quarterbacks are over there on the one field running the offense versus the scout team defense. And then your third string quarterback is over on the other field going against the the first team defense. So he's running cards of Iowa's offense or Michigan's offense or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's interesting, but I've just seen it before. And again, like Lincoln didn't think in a million years that he'd actually be playing in a game last year. So that can kind of, get to you. Because again, it's easy to say, oh, well, you need to prep and you need to focus and you need to lock in. But when you're on scout team, man, you're just like basically you're red shirting. He couldn't project the Kyle McCord would go, and obviously guys can get hurt and that type of thing. But in reality, like we haven't gotten down to the third quarterback very much to us. It's happened like one time in my lifetime. So again, I don't think it's coaching. I just think it's kind of a circumstance because the coaches are focused on the guys that are starting that week and the top backups because, you only have so many hours in the day, before you can actually, get things done. So, I don't blame Ryan Day and those guys. Cause again, they were trying to, when you got to remember, like, I mean, Kyle McCord started all year and then he buzzes off because we won't name him the guaranteed starter. So, they're trying to give every single rep known to God and man to Devin Brown because Devin needed to get the starter reps. So that leaves Lincoln with like, the scraps of whatever's left. So again, like I don't, again, could things have been done better? Of course. Was it a disaster? Of course. But anytime you get down to your third quarterback and you start a guy who's never played center before in a game, like there was a lot of blame to go around, and a lot of really bad coaching. But I don't think that developing Lincoln is part of that. And again, I could just be soft, but I just think that when a kid's playing scout team all year and then also you got to throw him in a game versus Missouri, who had an amazing defense and their offensive or their D coordinator ended up getting like a $3 million a year job at LSU right after that game. So, I don't know. Like it's hard for me to blame Lincoln or blame Ryan Day because Ryan was obsessed. I mean, he had to get Devin ready to go. I mean, Devin goes from being a backup to being the guy and you didn't have a lot of reps to go around that Devin couldn't take. So, but Nevada, what are your thoughts? Emperor Zeus, again, thank you for the 10. I know there's a difference between the military and sports, but Lincoln was at school all year and should have been ready. I hope we sometimes to get sailors and soldiers ready. Coaching, I mean, and again, I agree. Like, I can't compare what you do with the military because, again, you guys are the best, and again, I know it's a different level of preparation with what you guys do. But again, this is my opinion. But what are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, people have to remember you have a 20-hour rule, so you have a finite amount of time to get guys ready. During this thing, obviously that's violated heavily, but that's the general standard and guideline for the NCAA. And while this wasn't mentioned, it's I always find it's in the back of people's mind where people talk about like Cardale Jones in 2014. We're like, hey, he was the third string quarterback and he led us to the national championship. But you have to remember he was the second string quarterback all year long. Braxton blew it out before the season, and JT was the starter, but Cardell was second string, so he got the second string reps all for 5 months or whatever it was. And then when JT went down, he was able to step in and work his magic and make that magical run to the national championship. As you mentioned, McCord and Devin, grabbed up all the reps during the regular season. Then McCord leaves. Then you got to get Devin ready. Lincoln's only like he's never really taken snaps during the season, so tough situation for everybody. When you throw in the Matt Jones thing, you throw in the Enoch thing at right guard, and it was just a mess. And in that mess was really lost a masterful defensive performance. I think we held Missouri. We shut out Missouri for 3 quarters or held them to 3. I mean, it was crazy how good the defense was playing that day. But hey, onward and upward. Third string quarterback. You look at what happened to Florida State when they went to the third string quarterback. They got beat by 70 points in the bowl game. It's hard when you get to your third string quarterback.
Yeah, and also that's a fantastic point by you. The fact that Cardell being the backup is way different than being the number 3. So when you're the number 3, man, you don't get reps, and you're generally playing scout team. You're the number 2, man. I mean, you're getting reps. I mean, your mentality is different because again, you're one broken shoelace away from being in the game. So you're a lot more locked in than when you're that third guy over on the other field throwing to scout team receivers and so again, I felt terrible for Lincoln. But like starting Enoch and Matt Jones, I mean there was just a lot of questionable stuff that went on in that game. Coconut Dreams 123. Thank you for being an ultra member. Thank you for the 5. Oh god, I love these emojis. Infract and white light, filth or fifth. Is that fifth? Fifth colored weasels flippantly funding our show. That is funny. Tainted hashtag vacate. I like the little Ohio State Michigan rivalry that's going on in here between you and Blue Wolverine, but I just appreciate you guys. Nevada, we can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just hats off to Brian Hartline for continuing this recruiting terror. And guys, buckle up for a big, big recruiting weekend. We got some monsters coming in.
Man.
And so, as good as the last 2 weekends been, this one's better. And so, get ready because it's about to get really good. And there's going to be some big time stuff going on here over the next 3, 4, 5 days. So, get ready as an Ohio State fan. Let's go.
Let's go. I appreciate you guys as always. Yeah, David Sanders Jr. is back. It's going to be a huge weekend. Again, it's going to be a great time to be on BuckeyeScoop.com. We'll have all the inside information, and we appreciate you guys so very much. With that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell, and consider joining BuckeyeScoop.com because our message board is on fire and it's a blast. We had great camp coverage from Bill Greene and Joe Drame today. Appreciate those guys out there battling the heat and getting the goods. But it was a great day for BuckeyeScoop.com as always. And again, we appreciate you guys each and every night. Make sure you thank a member of the armed forces, a police officer. Again, we appreciate all you guys do in the community, firefighters, first responders. Thank you guys for keeping our community safe and prosperous. Appreciate all that you guys do as always. Again, thank you guys so much for all you guys do for the channel. This is another huge show because you guys made it one. The NBA Finals are ready to tip off, so we're going to have a great show again for you tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, we're going to go 1 hour early, 6 p.m. I will put the show up early so you guys don't miss it, but 6 p.m. tomorrow, a little early. I've got some activities planned, so it'll be fun. So, again, I just appreciate you guys each and every night bringing it. So, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We will see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, ready to go. Go Bucks.